Welcome to the IIBA Tampa Bay, Florida chapter study group. Today is March 6, 2025. This is our 154th study group. Today we have the pleasure of being presented strategy analysis by Aaron Whittenberger. I will introduce him in just a few minutes. My name is Thea Soren. I am the president of this chapter. I'm also one of the authors of the BABOK. I've done a bunch of stuff, but really what I want to say is I'm here for you. That's what all that means, is I'm here for you. If you have a question, reach out to me on LinkedIn. It's the fastest way to reach me. Tonight, we had some challenges with our technology. We normally are going to have this class, and then we have another class that follows this. That's the beginning of our CBAP study group. Because of technology and, the way technology sometimes runs, we had to put some things in the chat, and this is what's in the chat. This is the link to the study group for tonight. And then this area over here on the right, we're going to ask you to just copy that and drop it in an email to this address, giving us your information. This is going to allow us to invoice you for the class. This is a 6-month class. It's a weekly class. We're going to walk you through the CBAP very systematically and very linearly so that you can really grasp the information. My technique is pretty significant that people have had success with it. So if you want to join, now's the time before we get into the knowledge areas. Speaking of our CBAP class, we've been through it 3 times so far. Out of those 3 times, we've had 18 people reach out to say that this class was one of the deciding reasons they were able to pass their certification. Many of those people have gone on to lead or participate in leadership in this IIBA chapter or other IIBA chapters, which is a testament to their belief in the value of the certification. So you really feel like the accolades that we receive are a true reflection on what we do here. Our board of directors is filled with people from literally all over the world. Our membership is literally all over the world as well. We appreciate these people. They're working to make our chapter better. We're working to improve our website. We're setting up a quarterly newsletter. We have so many important things going on. So reach out and give these people some appreciation. Our mission here at the Tampa Bay IIBA is to equip business analysts with knowledge, tools, and support needed to excel in their roles through targeted training, mentorship, and fostering a professional community. We empower business analysts to drive impactful decisions, collaborate closely with stakeholders, enhance organizational efficiency, and elevate the practice of business analysis because we are Tampa Bay IIBA. As I said, we do have membership from all over the world. You'll notice the hurricane path here because we are located out of Florida, United States of America. If you do not have a IIBA chapter near you, if you do not have an IIBA chapter that's serving you, you're welcome to join our chapter. You do not have to live in the state of Florida to join our chapter. But if you have a chapter that's near you that's active, especially if they have in-person meetings, and especially if you're looking for a job, I encourage you to join your local chapter. We've given you several ways to reach out to us. This is our normal 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern weekly study group. We also have over almost 150 of our meetings on YouTube. We have meeting recordings here on YouTube, and knowing that there's that many means it's almost impossible to find what you're looking for if you just go out and try to click on a link. So Bob made his amazing index at rpchurchill.com. If you go to rpchurchill.com and look at the Tampa Bay link, he has put it in order of date, of topic, by knowledge area. It is fantastic. A huge amount of work. We sincerely appreciate his work. Also, to find out what is going on here at the Tampa Bay IIBA, you can go to our own website, TampaBay.IIBA.org. On our events page, you can see the events, and those events that are running multiple days, it looks like it's running constantly. So for instance, our CBAP class looks like it's running constantly for 6 months. If you click on it, you can see the actual dates, but those events, as well as our study group, is every Thursday night. Bob here and Esther are our study group advisors. They both have their CBAPs, and they have committed to try to be here as often as possible to give you advice or assistance as you need it. You can reach out to either one of them. We are working on creating branches for our chapter. We have a few people in a couple of different cities that are considering starting branches. This means they have people to meet with in person and they don't have to be here in Tampa. We do have a Tampa branch that we're starting. We also have a Seattle, Washington branch because some of our members live in Seattle, Washington. So if you want to have a group, we will help you set up a group. I'm going to talk about the elephant in the room. We know that there are jobs out there that are looking for talent. We also know that we have talent that are looking for jobs. I've named myself the BA matchmaker. If you have jobs that you're trying to fill, whether it's business analyst, project management, or something else, reach out to me. I have about 15,000 people in my LinkedIn network, and I'm on there 8 times a day. And I post jobs. Let me pull this over. I post jobs every single day from things that I see from my 15,000 people to this group. I have one that's similar for Canada, but I don't see as many from Canada. This is where I post jobs that I find across LinkedIn and in my email. You're welcome to take advantage of that. Okay. We have partnered with a couple of different associations to make ourselves better, to bring more value to our members, and to hopefully bring value to them as well. The Tampa Women in Agile, the Tampa Bay Product Group are 2 of the groups that we have had some partnered meetings with. We also partnered with 3 different IIBA chapters. There's Ireland, there's the Philippines, and then Bluegrass. And I'll tell you more about Bluegrass in just a minute. Our Director of Emerging Professionals is Kennedy Davis. Her job is to find people that are either entering college or currently in college who would like to be able to graduate with not only a degree like all their peers, but also with a membership in a professional organization, with also a certification in a professional organization, and have networked with people in that association. We want to put these people head and shoulders above all of their peers. So if you know of a college student, have them reach out to either myself or to Kennedy, and we will get you hooked up. If you know someone that's teaching in a university, I don't care if it's in Florida or anywhere else, if they want more information, if they want to partner with us, if they want us to provide services, for instance, mock interviews with them, we can do that, but we've got to hear from them. I want to encourage you, if you know the BABOK, to reach out and do yourself a favor and go do the competency development workbook. This is a way to evaluate your skills based upon the standards out of the BABOK. Once you know the BABOK, you'll be able to do this. Until you know the BABOK, this isn't going to make much sense to you. It's a bunch of random words. So if you know the BABOK, check out the business analyst competency. You've got the worksheet, and then you've got the development workbook that walks you through things that you can improve. Watermark Learning has been with us since the very beginning of my association with Tampa Bay. They've given us a discount code of 40% off of all of their classes. If you want 40% off of their products, reach out to me and I'll see if we can get that for you. But they do have this on all of their classes. Adaptive US has also given us 20% off of their classes. This is the live classes and on-demand courses, excluding the IIBA exam vouchers. If you take a class with Adaptive US, for instance, a CBAP class, and you take the CBAP certification test, if you fail it because you took the class, they will pay for you to take it a second time. If you take it a second time and fail it, they'll pay for you to take it one more time. That's how much confidence they have in the effectiveness of their courses. Project Summit coming up in Orlando in just a few months, May 5th through 7th, has given us a discount code that you are able to use. So you write this down and go ahead and get your tickets now for 10% off of the group rates. Bob Churchill and Seamus are going to be there on site to talk about the Tampa Bay IIBA. I told you I was going to talk a little bit more about the Bluegrass chapter. Here is the representative from the Bluegrass chapter, Aaron Whittenberger. He is the Vice President of Finance. Aaron, weren't you the founder of that chapter?
Yes, I was.
I thought so. Aaron has probably held every role in there and done every single job to keep that chapter going. It is one of the most active chapters in North America, maybe in the world. Aaron is not only one of the leaders of that chapter, but he has mentored several other chapters to get them better. So I'm so excited to hear Aaron's presentation today about strategy analysis. Today we're going to learn what we mean by strategy and how it relates to goals and objectives, the best practices in delivering strategy analysis, and the how of strategy analysis. Next week, Chris Kraft is going to come talk to us about process improvement. He comes at it from a different perspective than some of us, so we're going to learn some new things. The week after, Alicia is going to talk to us about the power of connection in business analysis. After that, we've got Kim Merritt going to talk about marketing and corporations. She leads a marketing company and she is an e-learning influencer. The week after that, Aaron and I are going to talk about collaborative games. We're going to actually bring you 4 or 5 collaborative games in a workshop so we can work on them through them together. The week after that, on April 10th, we're going to talk to BA recruiters to get tips for the current market, what's coming up in the near future, and what skills do we need to grow to be prepared. I'm looking for some recruiters. If you know of recruiters that'd like to participate in this, please have them reach out to me on LinkedIn. And just a few more to wind you up. On April 17th, Eric Netland is going to talk about beginning business analysis for those people who are just trying to get into the market. And then Silas Dillon is going to talk about measuring the intangible. Silas is a data analytics person, and he's going to bring some information to us about how to measure things that people are like, I know it's out there, I just don't know how to measure it. We need to know that as business analysts so we can talk to the data analytics folks to bring data analytics to our organization and whatever else. Now, I'm going to show you this slide again before we sign off for the day. But remember, if you're planning on participating in the CBAP study group, this information's at the very top of the chat. And now I'm going to turn it over to Aaron.
All right. Thank you very much, Thea. So, very glad to be with you this evening. Thank you, everyone, for attending. For those of you who are going to be going for your CBAP here in the near future, you're joining the study group in that, this will be very pertinent to you as we are going to walk right through Chapter 6 of the BABOK. So Chapter 6 is all about strategy analysis. And we're not just going to, regurgitate what the chapter says and everything. We're going to tell you why you should do it and the value that can come out of it. So let's start on how it can help you increase your success as a business analyst. So Thea told you a lot of about me and everything. So there's all my credentials. So give me a definition. What is strategy?
I would say strategy is planning for long-term success.
Okay, planning for long-term success. That's a good one. Anybody else?
Thought process are a guideline to an end goal.
Okay. Anyone else? When you think of strategy, what do you think of?
A plan on how to achieve
A plan.
A plan to
achieve a goal.
To achieve a goal or objectives.
Objective, yeah.
Yeah, from an enterprise perspective, because we all work for companies and that. So most effective ways to apply the capabilities of an enterprise to reach a desired set goals or objectives. So many of you were right on key with that. So then what is strategy analysis? Keep up that interaction.
Reviewing that methodology or thought process or guideline for that goal.
Okay. Well, I think it's more than reviewing, right?
Defining the effectiveness of your strategy. Doing analysis on the strategy that you completed.
So it's really the business analyst work in helping the organization achieve those goals, right? And strategies in that. So It is defining that need and then deciding the best way to address that need and align your strategies up and down the scale, your higher, your lower level strategies. So not everything is done at one level, and I'll talk about that in a minute. So you probably recognize this diagram straight from the BABOK. It's in 3 chapters of the BABOK. Guess which 3? But strategy analysis is right there on the left. It deals more with the potential value, and the whole business analysis value spectrum is about analyzing potential value and turning that into actual value. So the strategy analysis is the part dealing with the potential value, identifying the need and the solution scope. So you have to be really good and comfortable with dealing with ambiguity. So the more to the right of this spectrum you get, the more things are defined and the more information you know. At strategy analysis, you may not know as much on there. So I do want to bust a myth here, because many people think the strategy analysis happens only at the enterprise level. Yes, you believe that's correct? Actually, it is not. It can happen anywhere in the organization. I've worked with many business units within my enterprise, and we're doing strategy analysis. I do it at the product or the project level. Every initiative I take on, the first thing I am doing is strategy analysis, because that really defines where you're starting from and where you're going. So if you don't know those 2 things, then you may end up in the wrong place, we'll say. As far as aligning goals and objectives and strategies, let me give you an example from the Bluegrass IIBA chapter. We have strategic goals at many levels of our chapter. And it's, we have 6 program areas that we have defined, but as a chapter overall, we have 4 goals. Champion business analysis excellence, develop business analyst practitioners, raise awareness of the value of the role, and provide networking opportunities to our community. So very, interesting goals that business analyst practitioners would be interested in. Now, if you go down to our program levels and look at professional development, we provide a world-class certification study groups, provide business analysis career courses. That ties back to developing business analysis practitioners. See how those tie together. We provide 9 educational opportunities, at least 9. We're going to have 9 this month by itself. Look at our community engagement and outreach program. Outreach to businesses. So raise awareness, right? Provide in-person and virtual networking opportunities, ties to that last corporate goal there, providing network opportunities. This is how you align strategies up and down. And of course, you're going to have more levels at the enterprise when you get into an enterprise. So the strategy analysis chapter of the BABOK is the shortest of them. They have 4 tasks within the knowledge area. So there's analyze current state, define future state, assess risk, and define change strategies. And these all connect so well together and everything that, it really fits. These are not necessarily sequential, but they do all need to be done. So first, we're going to analyze current state. Notice it doesn't say define current state. It's analyze current state. I'll show you the importance of analyzing the current state here in a minute. To understand the reasons why enterprise needs to change some aspect of how it operates and what would be directly or indirectly affected by the change. That's what we mean by analyzing the current state. We want to understand, and we want to share that understanding with everybody involved in this change. This is why we are doing it, and that. So we're defining the starting point, and you'll see in a minute just how important this is and how stakeholders can get really off key if this is not done well and everything. So we're going to define the problem statement. We're going to define that. What we just said is define why the organization has to change some aspect of the way it operates. So you have a perceived current state. So you think it's here, and this is where we're going to start. And you believe that the future state is there. So the path we're going to take is here. That's the change, right? Well, that might be, but if your actual current state, because you didn't really analyze this current state, you don't really know, you made assumptions. But the actual current state is way over there. There's going to be a gap, and that's probably missed requirements. And so if you don't know where you're starting, that has also changed the trajectory of your journey to the future state as well, hasn't it? And what is worse than this is, what if stakeholder A thinks that the current state is there, and B thinks it's there, and C thinks it's there? Are you going to get them to see the same journey to the future state? Are you going to be able to get them all in agreement all the way along? You think this is going to cause confusion, arguments, and things of that nature as you try to get to the future state? Because they didn't know where they were starting from. And it may be that stakeholder A knows their little piece, but they don't know all of the context around the current situation and state in that. And if stakeholder B and C shares their little piece with A, now they all understand, and you have shared understanding. And that is what a great deal of analyzed current state is about, is to ensure that all of the stakeholders see the entire picture, the big picture, and they're all starting from the same current state, so they all see the same journey, and a journey will have a lot less rockier roads if they're all traveling the same path with the same vision. So you do need 2 inputs to analyze the current state, and you need your elicitation results. So a lot of making that shared understanding, and for the stakeholders to share their little piece of the puzzle is, you're going to elicit that information in workshops and any other sessions that you have with the stakeholders, for them to share what they know their knowledge with the group. And then the need. What is the need? Why are we doing this? Why does the organization need to change? Then you have the business need, your problems, your opportunities, an issue encountered by the organization. You have your organizational structure or culture. These are the things you look at as you are analyzing that current state, and you're defining all these things so that all the stakeholders understand this. This is the context around that current state that the stakeholders need to understand the journey to the future state and why we're going to take that journey. So technologies and infrastructures, these are things that actually could change on your journey. Technologies and infrastructure policies may put limitations on you. Our infrastructure can handle only so much, or are we changing that infrastructure? Policies, very rarely does the work we do change corporate policy. And more than likely, the policy is going to put limitations on exactly what we can do. Business architecture, that likely is changing. It may be something that will change as you're implementing new solutions within the enterprise. Your internal assets, tangible, intangible. External influencers may be influencing the current state and that context around it. We won't go into each technique. Hopefully you know a lot of these and that, but these are the techniques you could use in analyzing the current state and help create that shared understanding, shared knowledge among the stakeholders of what the current state is, the full picture, and all the context around it. Then you'll come out the back end with a current state description that is often a textual description backed up by models like context diagrams, and it could be any kind of model or diagram that business analysts do. And then you're going to have business requirements. And I know I hope you have understanding of the architecture or levels of requirements from business stakeholder, functional requirements, and all of that. This is the higher level business requirements. This is the why. Why is the enterprise changing? So, once you have that defined, then you have your current state in that. But also make sure that you understand that the journey to the future state is going to take time. You don't just flip a switch and, oh, you're there. And that time, for each change is going to be different. It may only take you a month or two to get there. It may take you a year to get to that current state, to implement new capabilities within the organization. While you're doing that, you're implementing new capabilities, new solutions, and that doesn't mean that the current state where you started from stands still. The business cannot stop doing business for you to make this change. So when the current state is changing and that, you need to incorporate that current state changes into your future state. And that one example I can give of this is a task I had a while ago, a few years ago, in which we were taking an Excel spreadsheet that was developed by a business person, and they wanted an IT supported platform. And this was a pretty complex thing, had a lot of formulas in it, and it developed a lot of ratios and all kinds of things that the business used to make decisions. And there were many pages or tabs on this workbook, and they wanted IT to take that over and support it and take it to a browser and an IT supported platform. Now it took us many years to actually do that because the spreadsheet was so complex and that, but they didn't stop making changes to the original Excel. So I had to keep track of those changes they were making, because if I had gotten to the future state and it had not incorporated those changes they already made to the original Excel, would the stakeholders be happy?
Yeah, we're going backwards.
Yeah, so you know, this is nice and we love it, but you know, we made this change and it's not here. So yeah, you have to keep tabs on your current state description and make sure that it hasn't changed, you know, while you're halfway to on the journey to the future state. So now let's talk about the future state. So this is where we're going. We talked about where we started from. We created shared understanding. We got all our stakeholders to see the same vision. We got them on the same path. They're marching lock, what do they call it? Lock boot?
Lockstep.
Lockstep in step with each other. We're marching to the future state. So this purpose here is to define the set of necessary conditions to meet the business need. Another way to say this is, you know, define those capabilities that need to be in place for us to achieve the future state and exist in that future state. You know, once we get there, you know, we want to make sure that we can continue to do business and that we can exist in that future state. So this is the definition of success, you know, it's going to be those capabilities, what we want to be able to do in the future state as far as an organization, I mean. So provide the context around that, you know, what are the modified components? You know, what is the boundaries of the organization itself? Hopefully those aren't changing. So your inputs are the business requirements we just created in the future or in the current state. So now, you know, we know the why we're changing in that. Now we're going to define everything around that why and the what around the future state. You know, what capabilities do we need? What is the context? How is the organization going to operate in this future state? So the long-term ongoing qualitative statement of a state or condition seeking to achieve. So you're going to define these business goals and objectives of continuing to exist in the future state. Your scope of the solution space. So, you know, we do solution scope and that, what is inbounds, what is out of bounds, and you define that solution space and things that may be changing within that solution space. Constraints, dependencies, you're going to define those things. We talked about, you know, policies. Your corporate policies could put constraints upon you. There's many other things, infrastructure, your architecture. You may want to do this, you know, high and mighty, very fantastic solution, but the architecture just doesn't support it. Do you want to house a large language model to create an AI solution for your organization, but you don't want your proprietary information out in the public? So you want to house it internal within your network, but you don't have the infrastructure or the architecture to house a large language model. So that's going to put a constraint upon you. So your organizational structure or culture, it may be the people themselves and that are not willing to do certain things. Organizational capabilities and processes, you know, what new activities and new processes, capabilities are you introducing into the organizations? Your technologies and your infrastructures, you know, you identify what's going to be changing there in the future state. So you may be changing corporate policy in that. If not, as I said, corporate policy can put a constraint on exactly what you can do. So your business architecture, your internal assets, any of this stuff may be changing within your future state. And you want to identify your assumptions and eventually either prove or disprove those assumptions so you know that the organization can exist in that future state and actually achieve it. And then you're identifying potential change. You know, it's putting a number on, you know, value, and that, you know, why are we making this change is to achieve this potential change. And if we make that journey through requirements analysis and design definition, and then solution evaluation, we turn that potential value into actual value and see just how much of the potential value we actually did achieve. But this really justifies making the change, is selling leadership, management on the value we could get by making this change. And some techniques, some very much the same you did in current state, and maybe some new ones here. Excuse me. But some techniques you can do while defining the future state. And then you're going to have outputs. So now you can turn those requirements, business requirements, into business objectives. And you're going to have a future state description. Again, a textual description of what that context is around that, backed up by business analysis, diagrams, and models. And then you're going to define what that potential value is. You know, this is what we can gain by making this move, whether it's, you know, more customers, higher sales, or whatever, you know, that potential value is. Now we're going to assess risks, and many say, you know, we don't have to worry about that as business analysis. That's a project management thing, but we do look at risk. You know, is it really too much risk for us to take on to make this change, and just how much risk is the organization willing to take on? So these are the things you're going to define as you're assessing risk in making the move and everything. So minimize impacts of these risks, you know. So this is why we want to assess them. We're going to identify them and then have an action plan or a mitigation plan that if that risk does occur, you know, what is our mitigation plan? How can we address it to minimize the impact of it? Your risk tolerance, you know, how much are you willing to take on as an organization? And then your recommendation, that's that mitigation action plan in that. Are you going to just accept it? You're going to transfer it? You're going to avoid it? So those are some of the action plans you can take. And some inputs to it. So we're adding a few more. Some business objectives we just created. You got elicitation results from all of your elicitation activities with stakeholders, knowing who your influencers are. That potential value, we just identified it when we defined our future state. And then your requirements are inputs to identifying risks and assessing risk. The techniques you can use, so all kinds of analysis, things that you can do, lessons learned. Don't see item tracking, not sure why that wasn't in there. And then you're going to have what I've seen a lot is risk register or something, but some results out of this to identify what your risks are, and if those risks do occur, what do you plan to do about it? And then we're going to define the change strategy. So to tell you what the change strategy is, risks is, what risks are we taking on to make that move from point A to point B? Change strategy is how are we going to get there? And, change strategy is about identifying the many options that you may have on making this path. Do you go around the mountain or do you go up the mountain? And on your journey to point B, and there's many alternatives, ways of getting there, go east or west. And then selecting the best way, and make a recommendation, an approach that you think is the best way to get there. Why are we going to define change strategy? So define the context around this journey. And we have everything we've created to by now. We have identified the need. We've identified the potential value that we hope to get from it. And so we're going to identify all the context around the journey from point A to point B. And the more well-defined you have the current state and the future state, the more you have the stakeholders seeing the same visions of the current state and the future state, the easier this is to identify the context. And identify several strategies. It's not, oh, we're going from here to there, draw a straight line. Sometimes the straight line is not the best way to get there. So you're going to identify many strategies, or maybe it's just a few strategies, many paths that you could take to get there. And then select the most appropriate for the organization. You're going to define those transition states. So you may have to rest and, have a, incorporate some capabilities, but not all of them that you've defined for the future state. And you may have to stay in that state for a certain amount of time before you could start moving on again. So you can define those transition states along the way in that. So I've done this recently with a business line that I've been working with, and which it's not the same Excel spreadsheet I was talking about a minute ago, but they actually had developed a whole underwriting system for their department in that. And it has now become very complex to maintain. It's maintained by the managers in the department. And we were tasked with getting the managers out of system maintenance and get them back to running the business. And we wanted to take a business developed package that they use very much for underwriting and making decisions in underwriting everything, and turn that into an IT supported system. And it was written in something we had no skills in or anything, and it was not scalable. So, the objective was to make this a IT supported platform, rewrite their entire package into an IT supported application, and get the business back to running the business. And we defined the transition states, and there were 5 or 6 of them, I believe there were. So along the line, we had one system they used for transaction entry that we were sunsetting. And, so the first task we wanted to take on was to get them off of that system that it was actually an old mainframe. We're getting rid of the mainframe, so get them off of that mainframe system. So first of all, they needed the transaction entry system in that. And then we could talk about bringing in the underwriting, and we could bring pieces of those in at a time, making transition state for them, and then move on to bring in more underwriting functionality until we got it all in and they're in their future state. Final future state. How's that? So you can see we're going to start with inputs from everything we've done so far in strategy analysis. You need your current state description, your future state description, your risk analysis results. We're going to add to that our stakeholder engagement approach. So as we're defining this change strategy, this path we're going to take from current state to future state, we're going to look at how we're going to engage the stakeholders on that journey. Then you have change strategy and context. So your solution scope, your solution space, scope of the solutions space. What's inbounds, out of bounds, define those boundaries of what you're doing. So for my recent example, it was that one business unit, and that we weren't going outside of that. And it was that one system that they had created, and it's rewrite that functionality. You would hope that's what we added functionality to it. That's what you call scope creep. But your gap analysis. So this is what capabilities are there in the future state that do not exist in the current state. What capabilities do you have to add to the organization to get to the future state? Your enterprise readiness assessment. Okay, so you identify these capabilities in that. Is the enterprise ready to go? Are the people ready to go? Is it within the culture of the enterprise to make that move? And that, so, that's all things you have to look at to determine, if it's feasible to make this move and to get to the future state. So your change strategy is going to be your high-level plan to get from current state to the future state. Your transition states, one or more states in which you will set for a time on your path to the future state. You get some of those capabilities built, and you have that. And it may require training, people to operate at that level, and then you add more capabilities until you've got them all into the future state. So this was a process I did a little while ago. AOR stands for Agent of Record. So in this organization, agent of record requests came in from, often from policyholders. This is an insurance example. And they want to change their agent of record on their policy, and that they're moving from one agency to another, or from one agent to another, and that for various reasons, and that so we had a current state in which everything was manual. We would come into the sales department or wherever they communicated to, and it was all basically done in email. Sales would have to tell underwriting, and then in the back end, accounting would do manual adjustments to commission statements and the checks going to the agencies and that. So if you're taking business away from one agency, giving it to another, those were manual adjustments to the commissions that they were paying for that business. So we started with our minimal viable product, in which we created a system where they can enter and track the AORs. Because in the current state, they couldn't even tell us how many AORs they did a year or what agencies were involved. They had no information at all about, what, how much ARs, were there any agencies that was gaining business more or agencies that were losing more business because of it? Or anything of that nature. They just didn't know because everything was manual and everything was put, in a shared folder on, on the system and there was no tracking of anything. So we created them a system to track that. And in that system, we were able to do the adjustments to commissions so that accounting no longer had to do it. So the system did it, no more manual thing. But the one thing we didn't handle in MVP was the email to underwriting, because it was the underwriter on the policy that actually would change who the agent was on the record. So when we get to systems or state 2, the system took over that underwriting. We also gave them some lookup capability so they could look up transfer or records, AOR requests, and that. We also gave them the capability to upload, because sometimes many policies could be, one reason that this may be happening is that an agent, the actual person in the agency is moving from agency A to agency B, and they're taking their book of business with them. And that could be hundreds of policies. And, if you give me an Excel with 100 policies in it, I could upload it to this system and it would start tracking those and inform the correct underwriters and make all the commission adjustments on the back end. And you don't have to type in 100 policy numbers. And then we got to our future state where we gave them some analytics. Now they know, right? How many are you doing? Are there states that do more than others? Are there agencies that do more than others and things? So now the sales team and everything is more involved and more informed of what's going on when policies move from one agency to another. And techniques you can use to define your change strategy. Did you notice workshops were in all of them? And on the output, you're going to have your change strategy, which is textual, can be backed up by diagrams and models of, a description of that journey from point A to point B. And your solution scope, again, just what are the boundaries of your solution. So with that, I will say that when you understand your starting point and your ending point, how you're going to get there and the risks involved, you have a much greater chance of success. This is where we're supposed to have the applause.
I wish I had a pause button.
I should put that in the have a sound bite, shouldn't I? Right in the presentation. That would be self-serving though, wouldn't it?
China is saying encore, encore. So Aaron, let's talk a little bit about strategy analysis. First, does anyone have any questions? Let's answer questions first.
I sent you a message, Thea. You want to take a look, but it's different than from here, just so you know.
I think I got it taken care of.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you, Bonnie. Bonnie says, wonderful presentation. Encore, encore.
Yes, you did a lovely presentation. Sorry, I'm not feeling the best, which is why I kind of went off camera. But I thought that was a beautiful presentation. And I totally agree with your presentation there, strategy. Understanding your beginning is really everything. Obviously, you have to know where you're going. Getting stakeholders, to a point of agreement. Sometimes there are shared outputs that they don't even realize that until you kind of synthesize that information and kind of present that. So very lovely, very lovely.
And for those of you who's going to start studying the BABOK in order to get your CBAP in that, it won't tell you why you want to do strategy analysis. It'll just tell you how to do it. And defining, why an organization wants to change and that, but how to get there and the real importance of getting that starting point. I've seen organizations that are even business analysts who take an initiative and they just go, they define the problem, they've defined the future state in that, and then they have hiccups along the way, or they have a lot of questions and problems out of their stakeholders. That's because you didn't analyze the current state. You didn't get them all together first. And like I said, a lot of your stakeholders may know their little piece. If you're talking about systems and understanding how systems flow downfield, downstream, and what systems transform that data, where it all came from, and that you may have different stakeholders on different systems within that path. They know their little piece, but they don't know the whole stream, and making them understand that certainly will help make the journey less bumpy.
Yeah, especially when Aaron, they solution before the analysis. It's really tricky because I seem to walk into that scenario with such frequency.
Yeah, how many times has the business stakeholders come to you with a solution instead of the problem?
And you really don't want to say sorry, but your solution is the problem.
I recently had that. I recently had that happen where I was given a new business unit within the organization to work with. Never worked with them before, never knew them before, and they were just saying when I got to the first introduction meeting with them, they said, we want to implement this third-party package. And I go, okay. And, it was like, and, little talk with them, I understood that it was because the manager of the department knew that package was
yes,
used it in the past. And how many, you've heard that before, Bonnie.
Yes.
How many, I could tell you, IIBA, the platform we had for chapter websites prior to what we're on right now, was the worst. And you know why we had it? Is because the director of IT at that time was familiar with that platform and had used it before and all that, and it was weak in functionality, and all the chapters that were on it hated it, and it had capabilities that we as chapter leaders we need, and that in tracking membership of our chapter and everything, it would not send out reminder notices to our members that it was time to renew. It was like, how are they supposed to know?
Yeah, and I just received my renewal, so the newer system is great.
So there, you have to put up with Bonnie for another year.
I like Bonnie. She's good.
Oh, well, thank you.
Coming down to our last minute. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're interested in participating in the CBAP study group, the link is in the chat. I have to stop this meeting on time because I've got to start the other meeting at exactly the same time, so I can't be late. Next week, we have Chris Kraft that's going to talk to us about process improvement from a different perspective. I think that's going to be a great class. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me or Aaron on LinkedIn. And Aaron is extremely responsive on LinkedIn as well. Aaron, I want to say one thing about strategy analysis. I think it's important to practice strategy analysis even with small projects. I think strategy analysis is the time to set good expectations with each of your stakeholders so that they can all be on the same page and they're not feeling surprised or bewildered. So Aaron, thank you for bringing us strategy analysis tonight. And I will see y'all next week here with Chris Kraft. Thank you, Aaron. Good job.
Guys, good class.
Thank you.
Bye.